Finding Happy, 7 Steps to Relationships That Will Not Steal Your Joy is the new book by me, Nikita Banks, a licensed psychotherapist and life strategist. Leverage the knowledge you'll receive in this book to help you with the process of obtaining absolute clarity through the use of guided self-exploration. This process is necessary to help you master all your relationships in 2019 and beyond. Go on Amazon.com or BlackTherapistPodcast.com and grab your copy of the book, guaranteed to help you redesign all your relationships based on 2 basic principles, health and happiness. Get your copy today. Welcome to the Black Therapist Podcast. The Black Therapist Podcast is a podcast where we discuss the unique issues people of color face when dealing with mental health issues and mental health diagnosis. Now, if you are new to our show, I am your host, author, life strategist, and psychotherapist Nikita Banks, in private practice in my hometown of Brooklyn, New York. I am available for both psychotherapy and coaching sessions, and you can find more information about that on my website, nikitabanks.com. You can listen to our podcast everywhere podcasts are found: Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, Pippa, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and BlackTherapistPodcast.com. If you're a mental health advocate or a therapist and you want to buy our podcast merchandise, you can do so by visiting our site. And if you want access to our free mental health tips, free online trainings, discounted selective services, and resources, do so by joining our mailing list by texting Get Happy, all one word, to 66866. If you love the podcast, please like, comment, and share. We love to hear from you. And if you want to send me some feedback, guest suggestions, or simply to say hey, you can contact us at our website, BlackTherapistPodcast.com. Please be mindful that this episode and all of the information that we provide here is just a resource and a tool to help get you started on your mental health journey. If you are feeling any mental health distress or you're having any significant issues, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can find you a mental health provider in your area. Okay, let's go. Hey guys. So we are preparing for the holidays and the holiday season in general, and I hope you guys are prepared. But we're going to jump right into today's show because I got a lot to get through today. So I have been not feeling well. I think I told you guys this before. I have like a respiratory infection. We're trying to figure it out, find out what's going on. So pardon me if I sound nasally or if I have to cough, clear my throat. Wow. We are getting through this episode. Let's see. The what would you do for this week is, and pardon me if I don't know if we did the one for last week. I feel like we kind of skipped over it last week, but the what would you do for this week is do you allow your partner to have a friend or associate of the opposite sex? There's a lot of chatter on the interwebs about not allowing your partner to have a friend or not family member. That's not family member. But like if your man's best friend is a girl, would you worry? And this would cause a significant challenge in my relationship because my best friend is a man. And so, yeah, like, what would you do? Are you of this opinion that your man's friend or friends should not include women, like good friends? I have a significant opinion on this. If you came to me for therapy, I would tell you my opinion on that. But yeah, I think it's a good question. I know that Mary J. Blige once said that her and Kendu were not allowed to have friends of the opposite sex, which, I mean, I know someone who is a friend of hers who is a man, so I'm not really sure how that works or worked. Well, I know how it worked because they ain't together, but yeah, I wonder if this is really a huge significant thing. And I'm talking about a platonic friend, like somebody that's never seen the person naked or, wanted to. wanted to see a person naked, or like they weren't in a relationship but they're not exes or whatever. It's just really good friends. And so, like, would you expect that your man or girlfriend to like give up their best friend of the opposite sex. And if you are a same-sex couple, like, would you be threatened by your same-sex partner's same-sex best friend? Okay, so that's the what would you do for this week. We are again kicking off the holiday season, and so I know for a lot of people going home for the holidays is a very stressful situation. For me, it can also be challenging, to be honest with you. I am staying home this year for Thanksgiving, which means I may have to spend some time with my New York family. That also means I may also stay home. Well, I'm definitely going to be home to cook for myself and my son. He is moving away from me very soon. So I'm, trying to get some mother-son time in, where I can pamper him and feed him and stuff him while he's with me. So that's part of what I plan on doing for the holiday. But I know for a lot of people, if you've experienced a death in your family, or if you have experienced some challenges within your family, if there's trauma in your family and there's somebody that you're going to see in your family where it's not a pleasant situation, I really want you guys to take the week to infuse love and self-care into yourself. Do the things that you know is going to make you happy and make you whole and allow you to spend those 2, 3, 4, 5 hours with the people that may actually work your goddamn nerves. That should include therapy. Unfortunately, if you are my client, it won't include therapy for you with me this week unless it is a virtual session, because I'm taking the week off. So yeah, do whatever you need to do to feed into yourself. Surround yourself with love. Friendsgiving is a good option. Dinner with a friend. Surround yourself with love and self-care. I know for me, I'm taking the week off. And I don't, it's not because I'm stressed about seeing my family, although they could work a nerve. Love them, but they could work a nerve. I remember when I was growing up, my mother be like, girl, you drive me to drink. And my mother's never drunk anything that I knew about until like I got grown. I knew that she told me, because I was like, you've never drunk anything my whole entire life. Like, I've never known you to drink. And my mother would make little comments like, oh, you guys drink wine coolers? Your sister drinks wine coolers. And so it was like, have you ever tasted alcohol? And my mother's like, well, I've gone out for a cocktail before. And I'm like, what? Who are you? So just like having that realization of your parent doing something that you didn't know them to do. But yes, my family will definitely drive me to drink, literally, because if you know me for real, and I've said little things on here before, like I like my little Hennessy every now and again or whatever, but I'm not like a drinker. I have a full bar in my house, and I'm not somebody who drinks a lot, and I definitely do not like to get smashed or like be drunk. Ugh, no. And so like I have like maybe a 2 drink minimum, and 2 drink is like a party, like a holiday, we celebrating something. But yeah, my family, I'm drinking for Thanksgiving. I'm drinking for Christmas if I'm around my peoples, outside of my mother. And to be around my mother and like that little family, my mother, my sister and everything, and be sober, Jesus, be offense. And so I'm taking some self-care time this week. And it's really because, like I said, I've had some health challenges, and I think part of why I'm not getting better, or my respiratory infection is not getting better, is because I'm team too much. I do way too much. And with all of the jobs and the entities and the things that I'm starting and the things that I'm doing, I really want to be fully well rested in order to be able to do what I want to do to plan my 2020 and beyond. So I'm taking the week off, and I'm really struggling because I know my clients need me. There's some crises that are happening with some of my clients, and I really want to be there for them. But I'm gonna check in with them offline, and not go in the office and like just reach out via phone or text message or whatever, just so that I'm connecting with them if they need me, and allowing them to connect with me if they need me as well. So yeah, do what you need to do to practice self-care this week. And for everybody who's suffered a loss, of a loved one, and you're going into the holiday season without them, do what you need to do to remember that person, make space for your feelings, and heal, and not really have to juggle anybody else's problems, feelings, and concerns in this moment. Okay, this is a time for you to be thankful. This is a time for you to practice gratitude. This is a time for you to look forward, and this is a time really for you to be attentive to what you need. Okay, so I'm trying to decide whether or not there'll be a show. I've said a lot of ums tonight. Y'all know I work on not saying but I'm trying to figure out if there will be a show next week. As I stated, I'm taking the whole week off, and it may do me well to take a week off from the podcast as well. I mean, it's not a lot of work for me to do the podcast, but it's some work for me to do the podcast. So we're going to figure out if we're going to do that. But I really want to do not a social media episode, because that doesn't make any sense. I really want to do like a reality TV episode, because there's so many things that I feel like relationship wise we can learn from stuff that's happening on reality TV. So I'm going to do a poll on my social media to ask which shows that I watch do you want me to talk about from like a mental health perspective, or a relationship perspective, or a family dynamic perspective. And I'm thinking about Married to Medicine. Definitely. Please pick that, because that's really what I want to talk about, because that's what I was watching that made me decide that I wanted to do this episode. What else? Married to Medicine. We could do Real Housewives of Atlanta. We could do Black Ink. I still watch Black Ink, though. We could do Black Ink Crew, because there are some things on there I could talk about. We could do Love and Marriage Huntsville. That just ended, but I still have a lot of opinions on that. And we could also do Ready for Love. Okay, so the next episode will be a reality TV show episode, and we will either do Love and Marriage Huntsville, Real Housewives of Atlanta, Black Ink Crew New York, because I think that's the one that's on. What did I just say? Huntsville, Real Housewives, Married to Medicine, Black Ink Crew, and Ready for Love. Those are the 5 that we could pick from. We could do one. We could rank them 1 through 5, and then maybe I'll just do one each week or whatever. I don't know. I feel like we should, if we're gonna do anything in order, it should be Love and Marriage Huntsville, because it's off. Like, that's the finale has happened, and what did I say? Married to Medicine, because I really want to talk about that. But I don't want my opinions to sway you. But there are a lot of relationship dynamic issues that are on that show that I really feel like can help heal you in some of the conflicts that we all have in relationship stuff. So pick a show. Let me know which one you wanted to do. It would either be the show next week or the show the week after. We have an interview this week. And so y'all know what happens when our interviews run long. I end up splitting it up into 2 shows. So I may end up doing that for this week and next week. Okay. But we're going to get right into the interview. We have Lenny Carter of True Circle, and we're going to get into the interview right now. All right, so introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Lenny Carter. I'm the founder and CEO of True Circle, which is a platform that helps mental health professionals make sure their online presence through technology and marketing is there. We do websites, video chat for them to connect with their clients, as well as billing and credentialing. We also help underserved communities and folks that are in need the most, that go through the most trauma experiences, through our directory to connect with clinicians that look like them and experience the things that they experience as well.
Okay. And like, how did you get involved in being on the tech space in a mental health space? Because those 2 things don't seem like they really go together.
Yeah, that is also what makes my world a little unique. I had a chance to actually spend some time in the tech industry for over 10 years. I was building websites for restaurants and having a chance to learn that industry and learn how busy restaurants owners are, because, these are blue collar, typically men that turn around and run a restaurant, but they focus on so many other areas of their business that marketing and websites kind of fell to the bottom of the totem pole. So through the 10 years of starting my entrepreneurial journey from 2006 to 2016, doing this for the restaurant industry, I went through my own mental health challenges. It started out, really rough for me, because in my journey within the first 2 years, my partner lost his dad. So I seen him experience, challenges with grief at that time. And ironically, months later, my mother ended up passing away through an accident in Brooklyn, New York. And once that occurred, I struggled. It was a real tough journey for me. She was only 53 years old. I talked to her the day before she passed. And, my world was flipped upside down at that moment. And it wasn't until I actually got some help through the mental health professional and seeing a therapist that I was like, wow, as a Black man, I had it all screwed up, and the misconception was real. They actually guided me to getting the help that I needed. They supported me through my learning and growth that I had to do through my grieving process. And through that journey, I realized that not only, myself, but other Black men could benefit from mental health services. So I decided to combine the two worlds, take my tech experience, helping out folks connect and get more diners in through the restaurant industry, and saying, hey, I want to help mental health professionals get more clients and expose the great work that clinicians of color, clinicians that are from diverse backgrounds have an opportunity to treat those that need it most.
Okay. And True Circle, so how I became aware of you is we met on Instagram. I feel like I say that every week on this show, is that everybody that, I have on the show, usually I'm connecting through IG, which if you're not following me on IG, you should be. But yeah, we kind of came in the same orbit maybe around 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Absolutely. You were doing phenomenal work. I was seeing you out there. You were one of the first clinicians I seen, branding yourself and the type of work you do that represented, where I came from. You rep Brooklyn hard, and in that repping Brooklyn side, and me being from Brooklyn, it was just like, wow, she connects with the people. She can relate to the people that I grew up with, my aunts, my uncles, even my parents. And I was proud of your work and loved what you were doing. So absolutely connecting with you was a priority at that time, and still is.
Yeah, and so it took a while. I think it maybe took about 3 years before we actually connected. It was like, hey, we need to literally get up and see where we could support each other in this work. And so and what happened for me was that I kept seeing your work as I wanted to work more remotely. I think I put this on social media that I want to be in location independent by 2021. And so as I was looking for something to use with my clients, True Circle kept coming up in terms of using it as a stable platform for me to be able to use to do virtual therapy. And so do you want to tell them a little bit about that side of the platform and why the work that you do is kind of so dope? I feel like you're on the cutting edge of where therapy is going to go, because as a therapist, our office is our largest bill. You know what I mean? Paying that rent and that overhead. If you could remove that from the situation, you popping in terms of the money that we can save and the revenue that we're able to kind of keep to ourselves. And so being able to have a stable platform for us to do that and for it to be Black owned is really dope. So do you want to tell them about that part of the business and what you do?
Oh, absolutely. It's funny that you bring that up, because I found one of the toughest challenges was that, Therapy is something that comes in different shapes and forms, whether we speak about the therapist or whether we speak about the type of therapy they deliver. But, finding a good therapist for some folks, whether you're looking for a black male therapist, as an example, or someone that, has similar beliefs as you, can be challenging. Scheduling can be challenging. And then location, as you mentioned, is one of the biggest portions that becomes the biggest challenge, right? It's like, hey, you're in New York City, you're in Brooklyn, but anybody that's from Brooklyn knows that, we don't go up to the Bronx, or Bronx folks don't come out to Brooklyn too often.
Not unless you got to work out here, though. I have a lot of clients who live other places, and they come see me, but after work. Yeah. Exactly.
If you have no reason or purpose to be in Brooklyn and you're from the Bronx, or vice versa, that commute can be real. And to have a hour therapy session when your commute can be, 2 hours to that therapist, is a barrier for you to, get to that dope therapist, speak to someone that can relate to you and get the real treatment you need. So, True Circle saw a need, and there was a gap in our communities of, one, we are the highest users of technology. We have smartphones at rates that's higher than, our counterparts in other cultures, but we're not using it to our benefit. So True Circle decided to close that gap. Like, oh man, we have this technology in the palm of our hands. Our access to true good healthcare sometimes is lacking based on where we live. The stigma around mental health, with the fact that, if you go to the local clinic or somewhere close by, you think that others in your neighborhood may judge you. So we wanted to produce and have a solid technology that folks can find a therapist that they like, and whether it's from your comfort of your home, because you don't have a babysitter as a client and you're seeking a therapist, or as your work schedule is so crazy that you can't get to a therapist, you can see someone that way. And then from the therapist side, as you mentioned, therapists, you guys are on the move all the time as well. You're working in different industries. You're going to see clients in different places, depending on, your particular work. And sometimes having an office space with that overhead and rent to only use once in a blue doesn't make as much sense. So we wanted to build something to fill a gap for both audiences.
Yeah, and as for me, like, as you're saying, like, moving around the city, I'm thinking I gotta go to Manhattan on Tuesday, and for me that's like a mental thing. I gotta go to Manhattan on December 3rd, and for me that's a mental thing. Like, I almost gotta mentally prepare to, like, leave the city. So I exactly know what you're talking about and how we feel about the other boroughs. It's so childish in a way, and it's so limiting, but I'm like, damn, I gotta go to the city, so I know what that's like. But in terms of, like, being a therapist, for me, my office is in Bed-Stuy, and if anybody knows, it's not the old Bed-Stuy that I grew up in and that I came from. And it's really expensive in order for me to maintain an office there. If I didn't have partners that owned the building, I don't even know how I would do it. And so for me, looking at a lot of other clinicians who are doing this, and hearing the feedback from clients or people who do follow me in other states, or the emails that we get about the show, and they want to see a therapist who's Black, or somebody that they think they can relate to, or somebody like me. A lot of people say, oh, I want to have a therapist like you. Being able to serve the clients that I serve in the whole state of New York, and in the whole state of New Jersey, and in the whole state of Georgia, and the whole state of Florida, the states that I'm licensed in, and as well as me wanting to branch out on coaching, having a stable platform that doesn't freeze up on me, or that doesn't, I don't have a problem with connection or communicating with my clients, is so important.
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we took the time to basically understand the things that come along with technology, right? That was the industry I came from. That approach is a complete different approach than a lot of other products that I've seen in the industry as of yet. I've seen a lot of clinicians work their way in the opposite side of working in technology, and they tend to fall short on the technology parts. They don't give you a quality technology product because that's not the world they came up in. They're looking from a clinician side only. The great thing about True Circle is we're leading with technology. We understand the challenges, the barriers that come up with technology. We're really quick at the draw when technology problems arise, and we're up to date with the cutting edge of how technology is evolving to bring the latest and greatest to our True Circle clients, or customers, should I say, mental health professionals. So, literally, you're spot on with that. And, the next step is, as you mentioned, we work with a lot of clinicians that turn around and are licensed in multiple states. That's a big deal right now. There's a shortage of mental health professionals throughout the nation. It's really challenging for people to find help, especially in underserved and minority communities. So having the flexibility to communicate with someone from the comfort of your home office, your car, and on the go, that gives you True Circle gives you the flexibility as a clinician to make that happen.
Gotcha. And you and I have a lot of conversations about the use of technology and how to, be able to assist clinicians, especially in their marketing efforts. And definitely, I would like to think that I'm pretty good when it comes to technology. And it's really good to have somebody else to like bounce ideas off of, because there are times that I'm like, damn, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and then you'll call me back with a solution. And there's a lot of times that you and I are having conversations and you're like, yo, I'm stuck. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, duh, why can't you just do this, this, and this? And you're like, yo, I didn't even put that together. And so what do you think in terms of like the use of technology, especially in like marketing for clinicians, has to go?
Man, that's a great question, because, you're spot on. It's really a huge part of having the right support. So I've seen a number of clinicians that's out there that, I'm proud of. I've seen they do great work. They're the go-getters to say, I'm going to learn technology. I'm going to get into space. I'm going to do it all myself. But the challenge that comes with that is, as you mentioned, not having someone else to bounce those ideas off of. You talk about marketing a moment ago, and I believe you do a phenomenal job in how you market as a clinician. You know how to connect with the client. You know how to speak to the ideal customer that you work with. And that's why you're able to, reach as wide of an audience as you do, because, lack of better words, you keep it real and making it happen. So, we use technology, and the role that technology plays is that it's two parts. The one is the technical side that True Circle focuses on, whether you're looking to get your domain name and email set up, or understanding hosting. Those things are important as a clinician to have in the right place, because your website could go down in a heartbeat. People can't find you online, and now they don't know your brand. Or you turn around and have different addresses on Google or phone numbers than your actual current new phone number and new address of your office location. So two parts to the technology is, one, you need the knowledge and the know-how to have a support system such as True Circle to help navigate and guide you through understanding how to use the technology to your benefit. And that leads with your website and starts with your online brand and your message of how you're getting out to your clients. And then two, someone as phenomenal as you, Nikita, in the work that you do marketing-wise, the bridging the gap for technology is now having the right content and messaging out there to now gravitate and bring that right audience to your practice.
Right. And so, because clinicians are different, or therapists are different in their marketing efforts than anybody else, I think in terms of like, I watch shows like Married to Medicine. And I've seen people on Married to Medicine be like, oh, this is my doctor, but this is also my friend. I don't really have that luxury of like tapping into the audience of my friends or my family or people that I know for real in order to be my client. So when you're a clinician, you basically have to market from scratch. You basically have to start out from like people you don't really know. You can't really like go in your church and say, hey, I'm a therapist. Anybody need therapy? Come to me, because you're not really supposed to have a dual relationship. Just basically the way our license is. So you basically have to market to what we call in the business a cold audience, which means they don't know us at all. And so the number one ways clinicians first start to market is their websites. And part of what you and I have partnered up to do is, I know you build websites. I build more so like WordPress sites or like do it yourself sites, but you do sites from the ground up for clients, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
And you use a different kind of technology than the open source technology that a lot of people use. But I see a lot of people who are clinicians, because let's face it, most of us are cheap. Most of us are not making a lot of money when we come out of school. Most of us don't even expect to make a lot of money when we come out of school. So a lot of us are building our websites ourselves without the actual marketing plan in place that's necessary to reach your ideal client. And so a lot of clinicians that I see have really crappy websites, including myself when I started. I mean, I'm going to be honest. But I learned how to build websites maybe when in undergrad. So there's a lot of things, and my undergraduate degree was in communication. So a lot of what I'm building on now is just the cumulative knowledge that I've had in the past. But what's one of the things that you would say to people who are going and looking for a brand new website for their clinical practice they should have on their site?
Well, the biggest thing is contact form. You need, ability for people to actually find you and reach out to you. A lot of times the great thing about a website is that it works 24 hours a day for you. You're not always going to be by the phone. You're going to be in sessions sometimes. And if you're not large enough to have administrative staff to answer calls for you or to respond to emails for you, having a website with a contact form is super important for people to be able to communicate with you when you're not available at any given time.
Right. I mean, I think that's very important, but I think you also have to have like automations in place on your website.
Yes. Automations. The key is that some clinicians get scared of automation. So a lot of times when
they don't know what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing.
And it is tough. It is a challenge. You're right, But, a lot of times I like to look at things in layman terms. And sometimes, you have to put the cart before the horse with clinicians that don't know what they're doing, as you're mentioning. And when you look at it, as you mentioned, automation is the key to everything. You want to have and get to a place where your technology is so automated that basically you're saving cost on labor and time and money overall because your automations are in place to get it done for you.
Yeah, for me, because you like helped me through this problem solving for this. I often think of my problems as like if I had Oprah's budget. Like, I don't look at it like, okay, can I afford to do this? Or is there technology out there to do this? I just assume that there is technology out there to solve whatever the problems are that I need to resolve. And I just need to find it. There's a whole internet with Google on it. So I feel like I can find whatever I need to find on it. If not, I can tap into resources like you, because you're into a lot of tech communities that I don't have access to just because that's not what I do for a living. And so when it came down to me, one of the biggest problems in my business was that you and I have had this conversation. I used to schedule all of my clients weekly, bi-weekly, every other week, whatever. So on Sunday, I would have to make all of these phone calls and I would have to schedule 30 to 40 clients per week myself, like manually. Wow. And that was a real big pain in the ass for me because number one, I'm in session. A lot of people they complain that as clinicians, I called the therapist and I haven't gotten back to you. But if I'm in session, I'm giving that person 100% of my time. My assistant may be doing something else. Maybe they don't have the phone. Maybe the phone is with me. So I can't very well be like, we're in session. I know you're telling me about your mother passed away, but give me a minute. I got to answer this phone call. I have to give that person who's actually paying for my time in that moment 100% my time. And so being able to have a contact form on my website, being able to have a way that people could actually, get information on how to get appointments automatically, have the emails go out to them automatically to follow up, have, them be able to make their own appointments on my website without ever having to speak to me, not once. Being sent a text reminder, being sent an email reminder was so imperative to me having a continuity of care for my clients, and making sure as a business owner that I had recurring revenue was so important. And that was one of the things that you and I were able to kind of like talk through how to get it done. Like, I knew what I wanted done and I knew how to get it done. The biggest piece for me was being able to find a solution for the scheduling piece that I didn't have to pay for every month. That was the last piece that I was like, yo, we need to figure out. And shout out to Holly, Dr. Holly Sawyer, who was on last week, because she was able to actually be like, hey, this is what I use. And I was like, damn, I could do it this way and be able to navigate that in a way that I don't have to pay for it every month, or have to pay for it continuously. And so, being able to have, another set of eyes or another set of ears to come in and be able to help you resolve the issues that you need to have your business move a lot more smoothly is so imperative. And I think because of the nature of the business, and most of us who are clinicians, we're either in group practice with people who have the same exact knowledge that we have, or we have limited resources financially, or we just don't know that there's a way to resolve the problems that we have, because we're not really looking for the solutions, or we're not speaking to people who actually know what the solutions are. That's limiting what we can do as business.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, you're spot on with it, because, the key to any business, if you look at large corporations, and a lot of times in our culture alone, we don't always think as big as we should. We have great ideas and great visions, and we're doing the work. I see it every single day with our clinicians that are on our directory, with the therapists that are signing up for our products. You guys are working hard out there and doing the work to help the world and folks that need it most. And the key behind it is sometimes the visions are small, and limiting, because as you mentioned, finances and getting assistance is a challenge in our world when we're a solo entrepreneur. You're a solo clinician and therapist trying to start your private practice. You run into challenges, and it makes your vision smaller. When a lot of times in clients that I work with, I want them to dream as big as, a Fortune 500 company, and understanding those companies have and use automations to get where they're at. They do a lot of things that are simple things that we can do to grow our businesses, but we don't take it into consideration. And automation is a key thing that every Fortune 500 company is using, that we can use too, to have successful practices that go up into the six figures and greater.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us are not utilizing the resources that are low cost and no cost in an effective manner, in order to build on those things when it comes to the things that we do have to spend money on. There are things that I just have to spend money on in my business, because I know that it's a revenue generating entity for me. Like, I have to pay for, my phone service and my rent and my insurance and those kind of things. They're just things that you have to pay for. But a lot of times we try to look at nickel and dime things and not invest in the way that we need to. Hence the websites. I'm gonna keep going back to that, because
yes, exactly.
Because in an ideal world, you would have somebody build your website that would make sure that the technology side of it works properly, that your website is indexed and search engine optimized and able to capture your visitors, and has an email list and sends out automatic emails to your clients and follows up with them, and like you would be able to do all of those things. You could do that with no money, or like low cost money. There's cost effective ways to do those things that would be cheaper than if you hired an assistant. It would be cheaper if you had somebody in your office doing it for you. And then just being able to build on those things and the things that you really need to pay for. Like I pay for a lot of the marketing stuff that I use. Some of the things on my social media that I have that's there in terms of like automating that process, and some of the stuff, everything you see there, I do. But in terms of like scheduling, in terms of like looking for my hashtags and making sure everything is there on time, and this is a podcast, I have to pay for hosting of these kinds of things. Just making sure that I'm making the best financial investment that's going to give me a return on that is key to it. But I think, for me, we've had this conversation that I kind of almost had to take a step back of like not spending money where I didn't need to, in order to focus on things that I needed to focus on, in order to build on that, so that when I was spending money, it was like triple and quadruple Xing the results that I was getting. Exactly. And I think a lot of times we struggle in prioritizing because we're just doing this by ourselves.
Mm-hmm. No, you made so many valid points in that note. It's just really the fact that, the first step is wanting to find cost-effective or no-cost ways to get things done, and not having a support system. That's where True Circle comes in, and we're a support system along your journey with technology. That's where we have success with our clients, because we don't look at a client and saying, hey, we're just going to build your website. We want you to succeed across the board. We make recommendations to the free products and softwares that's out there that's beyond your website. So buying a True Circle website doesn't only just get you a web presence online for people to find you, but you get real-time communication and understanding the tools you can use to automate your practice, automate communicating with your clients, because that's the biggest drop-off, is that if you don't communicate with clients, or you don't stay front of mind with new potential clients that's out there, that's when your client base fluctuates every week. But when you have an automated system out there, a web presence that's strong, and ways to communicate with your clients consistently, that's where you're able to win and succeed and continue to grow your practice.
Right. Yeah, I don't have the problems that I used to have, or the stress on the weekends that I used to have. Like I have the show on the weekends. I have, I'm in the office on the weekends. I'm doing billing on the weekends. I'm somebody's mom on the weekends, and I'm trying to schedule my clients for the week. That was just too crazy for me. So being able to like automate that process, whereas now if I see some holes in my schedule, I can reach out to 2 or 3 people and be like, hey, do you want this 4 o'clock? You want this 5 o'clock? What's going on? If you don't take your 5 o'clock this week, somebody else is going to take it. And so just being able, or even sending out a mass blast, right? I'm able to like, go and send out all of my emails at one time, but they go to each person individually. And I'm like, hey, I have, some schedules, some things opening for this week. If you want them, they need to be booked by this time on this date. And being able to send that out to, 800 people on my list or 600 people on my list is like, what? Just being able just to maintain a automated CSV file that I could just update with clients who are potential clients and say, hey, you haven't come in for your appointment in like 3 weeks. Do you still want to be a client, or we're going to close out your case? And then have them follow up with me. Like being able to kind of fill those voids and fill that hole has really been helpful for me.
And it's super exciting for me every time we talk to learn and hear, the automations you have in place, because, me doing the research and understanding as a non-clinician, I had to do a lot of homework to get into the mental health space and be where and take True Circle where it needed to be and could go. And in that process of research, statistically, people that's looking for therapy services only have a 17% communication success rate in getting an appointment. It's been a common thread recently. Like literally I'm reading and hearing about folks that saying, hey, I referred someone to a clinician or a couple of clinicians and they never got back to the person. Or, people are just not hearing back from clinicians through reaching out. And that comes with the lack of automation. you can't blame the clinicians, because if they work and busting their asses every day to get the job done, it's not 100% their fault, but at the same token, to kind of cover the full spectrum and hold themselves, accountable to reaching out to more people, they have to have automations in place to make their lives easier.
And having a niche or niche, however you should, and knowing who your ideal client is optimal, because for me, on the directories that I'm on, I may get a minimum of 20 calls a week, a maximum of 50 sometimes. And sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to speak to you. Know me. I don't want to speak to anybody on the phone. Like, I don't even want to talk to anybody on the phone. Like, I did a 7-hour session or 7-hour sessions today. I don't want to be bothered with anybody. I don't even want to speak to nobody when I get home. So it's just like, some days, the good news of having idealized marketing is that I reach my target audience and they're able to reach back to me. But sometimes, in order for me not to be so burnt out, I have to protect my energy. So the automations that I have in place, that helps me be able to be in contact with them, not ignore them, let them know, hey, I did get your messages, but I can't, you would have to make an appointment with me. You can download my documents here. You can submit your insurance here. For, I'll know what your copays and everything, and validate everything before your appointment. And so that, if there's any problems with your insurance, if there's going to be a bill or anything, that that up front. Because that happened to me before. I've gone to a therapist myself and then got a huge ass bill at the end of the appointment because they didn't validate my insurance until I got there.
Right, exactly.
And that's happened in my office too. I will say that has happened in my office too, but that was through no fault of my own. If you don't submit your insurance before, or if you don't read the onboarding email that I send you before you come to because a lot of people come to my office and I'm like, did you download the forms? And they're like, no. Did you submit the insurance? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, you didn't read the whole email.
Exactly.
Because people don't read anymore, and very rarely do they follow instructions. But when they do, there's not a billing problem. There's no issues because I've already validated your insurance. We already know what your copay is. You already made your appointments. You've set up recurring appointments on your own, and there's never any interruption in care for anything, because I've told you exactly what I need in order to make sure that this goes smoothly, and you've done what you needed to do to be proactive to make sure that you didn't have to pay that $160 fee for my first session, and $240 if it's a couples counseling session. Right. So it's made my job a lot easier, but it's also been very cost effective for the clients who've actually done what they were supposed to do the way they were supposed to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, automation is the key to successful practice, not having to spend more money. And when you do spend money, as you mentioned, it's about spending money in the places that are going to give you a return. A lot of people are hiring virtual assistants for certain times to manage their practice right now. But there's tools sometimes that you can hold off spending as much on a virtual assistant by automating some of the technology tools you have access to. And that's definitely where True Circle comes in and is able to have a consultation with you to really talk about your goals, not just what you want your website to look like, but really hone in on, okay, what are your goals? Where can we automate? What can we do to make your life easier? And then as we talked about it and your phenomenal work that you're doing, there's a number of things that I don't even have the time to share, but your knowledge in marketing and what you're capable of lending to making sure clinicians understand their niche, as you mentioned, which is the right way, but some people say niche, at the end of the day, helping therapists find their niche and hone in on an ideal client and getting their marketing, branding side complete, you're phenomenal at that work.
And this is not just like, if you're not a therapist, you probably zoned out. Like, this is not for a therapist. If you have any kind of business who wants web presence, or any kind of business where you have to do, face-to-face meetings, a lot of people use, some other technologies. I think you were the one that told me that there's only 4 technologies out there, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That do this, and most of them are not all that stable.
Oh, no, no, not at all. Yes, I told you that there's three. So as you mentioned, to piggyback on what you mentioned, we have coaches that use our technology just because they want to be secure with communicating with folks, and they pride themselves on the privacy of the clients that they're meeting with. But overall, there's only three technologies out there that's running video chat. The first is Zoom, who we have a partnership with, which is a publicly traded company and has the best video chat quality that's out there. And our Zoom partnership doesn't force you to pay the $200 a month that they require before they sign an agreement to make sure everything's private, which is called HIPAA compliant, or BAA, Business Associate Agreement. And that's an agreement between you and another company to make sure that they're taking all the steps necessary to ensure that your client's information, your patient's information doesn't get out there and no one can see any of the details of your session that occurs. So our partnership with Zoom is one of the best and first technologies that's out there. The second technology that's out there is another company by the name of VC. That company is all right, but their quality hasn't been that great. And there's a number of other companies that partner with them with that underlying technology. And then last but not least is WebRTC. RTC stands for real-time communication. So this web real-time communication platform, a ton of people are using out there in the world, but they're not using it the right way. If you don't have a strong internet connection, if someone's using their cellular data, that call will drop, and you won't have a solid video call with the video quality being where it should be or the audio quality being where it should be. We took the time to build a strong web RTC platform, as well as partnered with Zoom. So TrueCircle actually has 2 out of the 3 technologies that's out there for video chat.
And I've heard that TrueCircle is the most stable out of, like, that's really what happened. Was I was in these groups and I was looking for, something to use when I was doing my virtual stuff, and your name kept coming up, and I was like, I know, do I know him? Is that dude from Instagram? And so that's how, and I reached back out to you, like, is this you? Because your name keep coming up, and you're like, yep, that's me. And so that's really how that, began. But I'm glad that we connected and reconnected on that, because in terms of like I said, this journey, being a solopreneur in any field is really isolating, and not having somebody that you can come to when you have issues or things that you just don't know how to do, just being able to come and tap into you, and I would assume vice versa, for us to be able to like problem solve with things that we are working on. It's been very helpful, and I look forward to the partnership that we are forming. Because we know that there are 2 types of people. There are people who either build their own websites or either want to maintain it on themselves, or people who have the money and they're like, I don't want to be bothered with that. I'm just going to pay for somebody to do that. And so Lenny and I have partnered up to try to facilitate for both of those people. So we're in the process of creating platforms right now to be able to market to both people who have their own websites and they want to be able to maintain it and get the optimum growth on it and see the return on their investment for their websites. Because if you have a website and you're not showing up in Google searches, or if you're, it doesn't speak to your ideal audience, it's not being able to market to the ideal person that you have, your copy, it sucks, your automations are not in place, and you're doing yourself a disservice. And if it looks bad, a lot of clinician websites just look bad, I'm gonna say it.
Absolutely.
And so if you're not using the proper technology, if you are utilizing open source technology and you don't have the right securities in place, if their back end is not working the way it should, and your site is not stable, you're gonna have problems. And so being able to tap into a professional that's not going to charge you an arm and a leg to be able to do those things, but you have the only first line of web presence that you have out there that's going to live on the internet forever, it should look good.
Oh, spot on.
And it should do its job. Like, your website should do half of the convincing. Your website should have people saying, you know what, I don't want to work with anybody but this person. And not to brag, like that's what people say when they call me. They're like, "Yo, not that the show doesn't do a good job of marketing for me, but a lot of people come to me straight off of my directory pages, and they're like, "Yo, I read your profile, and I like you spoke to me."
Yep.
And it attracts the right kind of clients to me, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm maybe your shot of Hennessy White, but even in therapy, like you have to have the right marketing to attract the right types of clients, because I'm not for everybody, and everybody is not for me, and that's okay. But to be able to give the people who is looking for somebody like me the option to see exactly who I am through my web presence is imperative. And I don't feel like a lot of clinicians do that. We put a lot of clinical jargon on the site. The colors are horrible. I don't know why everybody's website is green and blue for some reason, or have some yellow in it. Is it just me?
No, not at all. It is a comic. Those are comic colors. I've seen it myself.
I don't know what it says, but to be able to have an ideal, idea of who your client is, and be able to market and speak directly to them and say, you know what, I am the only clinician that, can solve your issues. I mean, that may not be true, but to be able to like have your personality shine through in your site, and that's your web presence, then you got to get it together.
Absolutely.
I've seen somebody said they paid their 13-year-old to go learn how to build their websites on YouTube. And I mean, YouTube University is a really good thing, but I don't want my 13-year-old building my website.
No, absolutely. Because, the key behind it is you want a seasoned professional that understand the intricacies of all the layers. A lot of times websites are viewed at, the prettiness or lack thereof of just having a presence online. I've seen people with GoDaddy websites and Google websites and all. I have a
GoDaddy website,
and there's nothing wrong with it because you know what you're doing. It's
I built my
exactly.
I ain't let GoDaddy mess with my stuff.
Right, and that's the key. It's just that the layers, what's behind each step of the way. It's not just putting stuff up online. I was working with a clinician 2-3 weeks ago, and he turned around and built a GoDaddy site, but he didn't have a contact form on his GoDaddy location, on his GoDaddy website, or he didn't have a way for people to really reach out to him. He just had words up on a web address, and that wasn't enough. He needed to do more to speak to his client a little bit better, and that's where True Circle jumped in and helped him out with that.
Yeah, I'd say at least 75%, and I'm being generous, of the websites that I see from therapists suck.
I believe you.
I see about 70% of the websites I see from businesses are bad.
Right. Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Like online, people who are like entrepreneurs, people who want to have like businesses, they want to sell stuff, and I'm like, why would I? Like, if your website looks janky, I assume your business is janky.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. So,
like, it was a perfectly wonderful clinician. I met her on a retreat that I went to recently. She is a clinician in LA. My friend was looking for a clinician in LA, and then I was like, well, I need her contact so I can connect them, because I know that I met her, so I know her energy, that she would be dope. Like, these two people would be dope for each other.
Mm-hmm.
But when she sent me her website, I was like, I can't.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't.
Absolutely.
Let me get her phone number. Let me just give her her phone number, because what is this? And, so yeah, we have to do better.
No, and I mean, you couldn't have said it better in terms of seeing someone and how you can also lose business with a bad website. That's not always.
Yeah, it was really bad. Right. And this is a young lady.
Right. Like, wow.
And her energy is so dope. Like, she's so dope.
Exactly.
I didn't reach out to her, but I'm going to reach out to her to be like, sis, can we?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Because that's the key, is that you don't know about the business. And that's where, once again, with True Circle, where we help, where you can look at web statistics and see who's actually coming to your site, how many people visited your site. Because, when it comes to business, not alone just therapy business, but business overall, it's all about the numbers. And if you have people coming to your website, not hitting your contact form, not inquiring about your services, and just leaving right away, that's a telltale sign right there. If I could give anybody a simple task to kind of see their success of their website is see if you have Google Analytics tied to your website.
You know they don't.
I know. That's why I said they have to see, because
they don't have Google Analytics. But y'all don't know nothing about that search console.
You know what I mean?
Y'all don't have your blogs up there popping.
Exactly.
Y'all don't.
They don't know.
I mean, hell, I don't have my blog up there popping, but guess what? I've done a ton of marketing. So, like, the traffic on my NikitaBanks.com site is better than it is on the Black Therapist Podcast site. I get more organic searches from Black Therapist Podcast, and I get more impressions from this site. But because I've done a lot of interviews on the NikitaBanks.com site, my site is linked to higher ranking websites. So I would say they're neck and neck, but they're neck and neck for different reasons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Nikita Banks is a little bit higher than Black Therapist Podcast. That hurts my feelings a little bit, because I work really hard on Black Therapist Podcast site. But you and I know the reason why that was, and we resolved that issue right now. So it's just like, figuring out, well, damn, this is what my site is doing. This is what I want it to be doing. This is what my business is doing. This is what I want it to be doing. And being able to retarget everybody who is on your site, turning cold audiences into warm audiences, into spending money with me.
Exactly.
And that's with any business that you have, and the correct website that's optimized and a proper marketing plan, working with a business coach, I'm available, would help to do those things. So you and I have some online events that are going to come up soon.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
2020, that's early 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
And get those out. Life has gotten in the way, because we were supposed to do a few things, but what I love about the events that I'm doing online now, in terms of the coaching stuff, is really being able to help give people concrete solutions that they could walk away from the events with actionable steps, at least one or two that they could be able to put into practice immediately, for either free or low cost stuff. So I look forward to partnering up with you for those things.
Same here. And I know you have a lot of listeners that may not be therapists. I mentioned it earlier in the conversation, but I do want to remind people that we do have a directory. If you are a listener that's a non-clinician, or even clinicians and therapists that are looking for a therapist to help them with any problems or things they may be going through, literally True Circle is available at mytruecircle.com, where you can search our directory by the specialty of the therapist, the location of the therapist, and whether or not they take your insurance. So feel free to stop by the website and find a therapist.
Okay, so if you are looking for a therapist, or you are a therapist, you can get listed on a directory. Yes. If you are a therapist or just a business owner, right, because you build websites for everybody.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
You could go get a website built. Or if you are a therapist and you are looking for a virtual therapy platform, face-to-face platform that is stable, mm-hmm. and gives you a stable connection and won't shut down on you, mm-hmm. or freeze on your clients, and you want to do therapy from anywhere, yep. Where can they find you?
They can find us at mytruecircle.com. True is without an E, so that's mytruecircle.com, and they can find all the information about any help that they need on our platform. And we do have a contact form to make sure you can reach out to us and we can help you out.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. I look forward to our partnership together. I'm excited for 2020 and, delivering these things for the people.
Okay, I'll be calling you in a minute with a bunch of problems.
Of course, and vice versa. You're my clinicians, eyes and ears out there in these mean streets of mental health. So definitely we'll be talking.
All right.
Take care now.
Okay, so we want to thank Lenny Carter for coming on the show and talk about utilizing technology in the business space, as well as the use of technology for clinicians of color. Okay, everybody, if you're celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, if you are celebrating Thanksgiving, whatever you want to call it, be grateful, have a heart full of gratitude, take care of yourself, surround yourself with love and kindness, bathe yourself in love and kindness, and be well.
Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Black Therapist Podcast. Once again, you can follow us on all our social media sites at Black Therapist Podcast on Instagram and on Twitter, as well as Black in Therapy on Facebook. Or you can follow your host, me, Miss MSNIKI Banks, on Instagram and Twitter, as well as you can find out any information about me at Nikita, Nikita Banks.com, and on the show's website, blacktherapistpodcast.com. And don't forget, if you want to send us any general feedback, show suggestions, show topics, or guest ideas, please feel free to drop us an email at blacktherapistpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you. Be well.